Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have some stuff with coaches still going on somehow that we got to get into. So let's jump into this video. But beforehand, if you're not already, guys, we actually just hit 1,030 subscribers, which is it's pretty cool. Or 1,300 rather. I don't know why I said 1,030. 1,300, which is absolutely insane, and I'm super super excited about it, and I just can't contain it, man. So thank you all so much for that. If you're not subscribed and you're looking to stay informed with what's going on with the Lions, please consider going down and doing that, and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. With that being said, though, let's jump into this video. So starting with the coach rehire, there is a possibility we actually go and grab a familiar face. So Detroit Lions former defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn actually struggled massively in his first year. If you weren't watching football this year, you may not know that the Jets had a pretty rough season. The Jets finished the 2025 season with the second worst record in the league at 3-14, and the New York Jets didn't record a single interception on defense after bringing in Aaron Glenn, who has expertise on playing that kind of football. So the Jets offense honestly struggles. Well, they do fall on Aaron Glenn. But to be fair, they also are shared by ex-Lion Tanner Engstrand, who stepped on as the offensive coordinator for this season, and it was his first time ever doing it in his career. Engstrand didn't have it easy, though, to be so honest with you, as the Jets' quarterback play was very inconsistent, and the lack of weapons at wide receiver was extremely notable after they lost Garrett Wilson. However, despite those factors, it did seem like Aaron Glenn is making a change to the role at offensive coordinator. On Saturday, Connor Hughes of SNY reported that the first-year coordinator is not expected to be calling plays next season. So then this begs the question for us: Do we keep an eye on him? Should we keep an eye on him? It was Ingram's first year in the role, so he didn't exactly have the best kind of players, the best hand of cards to work with. So it is fair to say that maybe he could have a much better season with better people. The fact that the Jets are looking for a veteran play caller to take over the reins really doesn't bode well for his future in New York as well. If that scenario plays out, who's to say that Dan Campbell doesn't go and try to grab him, reach out for a role in the offensive coaching staff, not particularly as an OC or maybe as a players coach, but maybe as a guy who can really help with certain positions. We saw Campbell go back to John Morton after he stayed in Denver for a while. That didn't exactly work out great, so maybe that's a bad example, but he's done it. Engstrand began his coaching career in the Motor City, actually, where he spent 5 seasons in various offensive roles: offensive assistant coach, offensive quality coach, offensive passing game coordinator, and tight ends coach. So if there's anybody who knows what Dan Campbell likes, it's going to be this guy. And the fact that he's even worked in the tight end role makes me think that possibly he could go over and take that tight end job. I think it's definitely a possibility. I think it's definitely a reach, but we're just going to have to wait and see because we still have that vacancy. Now, I think with that vacancy, though, we need to look elsewhere. We need to look where our OC came from, because there's a good chance that we do go and grab some of those Cardinals coaches who aren't going to be in Arizona next year. So should we? Well, we've mentioned the possibility of Petzing hiring his former colleagues, but is it even worth to bring anyone from that staff over here besides Petzing? Personally, I think the Lions have a pretty solid offensive staff already, and I don't really see any of our position coaches going anywhere. Scotty Montgomery, Hank Fraley, and Mark Brunell are all long-tenured coaches with the Lions who have, I think, cemented their roots here in Detroit. And they've yielded pretty strong performances with their time here on a yearly basis. As a result, I don't see them going anywhere. Tyler Roll, though, has departed, like we know, and left that tight ends coach vacancy up. And I think right now we could go out and grab a whole bunch of guys. We just mentioned the last guy, but there's someone else from the Cardinals who I think could come out and help Petzing immensely, and that is Ben Steele. He was the Cardinals tight end coach and could be a huge option to replace Roll. My biggest worry, though, is grabbing someone who's coming off of a bad team so soon. I think that when we went and got Petzing originally, it seems like we had cast a huge net. It did seem like we hired him pretty soon, but to be fair, I think that we had a lot of candidates, and I don't think we made a decision too early. I think he just fit what we were looking for. But I think it's good to bring this up now rather than later. I don't expect us to hire too many coaches, if any, but that tight ends coach vacancy might be what we need to get Petzing really going. Now, you guys know we've mentioned 100 times here, Trey McBride was a monster this season under Petzing. If we can get the tight ends coach who worked with Trey McBride and the offensive coordinator who helped Trey McBride get the ball in his hands, who's to say Sam Laporta doesn't go back to his rookie season? If we end up grabbing David Njoku, who I think that'd be awesome, who's to say we don't go absolutely insane? Number one in tight end yards in the whole league next year, right? These are very real possibilities. But the question is, do we? Do we? Because the Cardinals didn't have the most exciting offensive season. I know they had a lot of injuries, but I don't think the Cardinals have been very quote unquote exciting offensively in a few years. So do you go and get somebody off of a bad team's coaching staff? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a scary one, and that's the one you got to think about. And I think that's why it's going to be a while before we even hear about a tight ends coach. Because I think now that Petzing's here, he's going to have a little bit to say in terms of who he wants helping run that show. And with Petzing being here, I think that even gives more. I think that gives Ben Steele even a better chance to be coming here and joining his former colleague. But you guys can let me know if you even want to take a chance with some guys from the Cardinals in the first place. Let me know in the comments right now. To our third topic of the day. Somber news, but we kind of saw this one coming. Now, we have mentioned this very real possibility before on the channel, but as of this week, it seems more real than ever. According to multiple reports, the Lions are potentially losing linebacker Alex Anzalone. And the irony of it is he's being linked to the New York Jets and Aaron Glenn as his next move in the NFL. Now, am I worried the Jets are all of a sudden going to come better than us because of Alex Anzalone? No, but I don't want to lose Anzo, even though I kind of knew it was happening. And now that I know he's going to our old guy, I'm like, oh, Anzalone, no. It sucks, but whatever. According to NFL insider Tony Pauline, the quote odds are high that Anzalone will join forces with Glenn with the Jets for next season. He also said, quote, talk of Lions players following Aaron Glenn to New York isn't new, but word in Frisco says the odds are high that Anzalone, the 9-year veteran who will become a free agent in March, will be playing for the Jets in 2026, end quote. So there you have it. It seems pretty done deal kind of scenario. The Jets, who are overseen by general manager Darren Moggy, are planning on taking a quote aggressive but calculated end quote approach to free agency. We'll see, Jets. Anzalone, who was a third round, 76th overall pick from the New Orleans Saints in the 2017 NFL draft, signed with the Lions in March of 2021 and would eventually agree to a 3-year, $18.75 million contract extension in 2023. And for the first couple seasons, there was some big hate on Anzalone, anal zone as they call them. There was some hate on him for sure, but he kind of really grew into the role and really did become a leader on our defensive squad. He brought very unique things to the table with his build, like pass coverage and his ability to have quick feet on the outside. His ability to cover outside runs and also be a pretty solid pass coverage linebacker gave us some huge opportunities in games we won. Honestly, Anzalone was a very special kind of linebacker, and having him on your team allows you to breathe a little more on defense when you know you got someone like that who can do so many different things. And I think that's going to be the biggest loss with him leaving, right? Now, we've talked about possible draft replacements for him, free agent signings, but honestly, all things considered, the linebacker room isn't in danger of looking awful next season. We got Rodrigo, Trevor Nowaski, Jack Campbell, Zach Cunningham, Derek Barnes, who had a rough end season, but I don't think he's bad by any means, and Grant Stewart. Now, in all fairness, like we said, Anzalone does bring that unique skill set, so it is fair to say we are still losing a fair amount with him being gone. But I'm not terrified of the production being completely nullified for next season, especially with Jack Campbell emerging the way he is right now. I feel like his speed's just going to go up, and he eventually is going to be that new lock it down linebacker leader on the team because he's already gotten the green dot and he's already started to emerge immensely as a leader. So, what do you think the Lions should do? Honestly, we've talked about that possible draft, drafting if we want to go get him, but we got other worries now: safety, center, tackle, defensive line, maybe. Is linebacker someone we really want to spend a pick on, even though our room is so full right now? It's a serious thing we got to consider because every pick going into this next draft is going to be crucial in how well we succeed next season. You guys let me know what you think about this one. I think we honestly could go and draft somebody, a project guy, while we let some of these other people on our bench do the majority of the work, and then maybe we go and get a free agent signing of a guy who can play good coverage in the linebacker position, and maybe that's our solution to Anzalone leaving for the moment. You guys let me know in the comments right now what you think is going to happen. Sorry, my nose is a bit itchy. And now for our fourth and final topic, of course, just some of your comments. Mike Ponton8453 says, add tackle through the draft, sign a center, move Penny to the left side. We need a safety. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And this is why I'm worried we won't get a linebacker in the draft because we have to get a tackle. First thing is we got to get a tackle. Sign a center. We don't need to draft a center, but absolutely we're going to have to make some room in that cap for a solid center. Not a suitable backup, not an okay number two. We need a center who can operate this offense efficiently every game. And yeah, we need a safety because Kirby Joseph might not play, guys. And Brian Branch is not going to play the beginning of the season with a torn Achilles. So that's another thing we got to worry about. And I don't know if we're going to use a pick on a safety because we have guys coming back from injuries, but we're definitely going to make a signing, and it definitely won't be a nobody. So I don't know, but you have a really good point here, Mike Ponton. I think that's what goes into this linebacker discussion even more. Thank you for your comment. And Brent DeWitt 1960 says, I would have more faith in MCDC if MCDC hadn't hired Anthony Lynn and No Motion Morton. Reserving judgment, and I hope he gets this one right. Yeah, he's of course talking about Petsing, the Petsing hire. And it's true. I mean, Sam Brown's telling us to have faith. I'm telling you guys to have faith, right? And I was worried too. But it's fair to say that after this last season, maybe I am going to be a little questionable on these guys because we saw how confident everyone was with Morton. And yeah, let's trust Dan Campbell. Like if he's saying it's going to work, and then Dan Campbell took over play calling. So it's like, do I put all my trust in? I don't think we need to go back to same old Lions mode. I don't think that's a stretch. But I definitely understand if you guys are having a little bit of lack of faith with new signings after what we saw this year. I would say, though, you still got to trust in what St. Brown is saying. I don't think the organization's dumb. I don't think anyone in the NFL at this level is a moron. I think they have an idea of what they're trying to put together, and we're just going to have to wait and see what comes of it. With that being said, though, thank you so much for your comments. We are out of time in this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a single episode here on Lions Latest. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.